All right, now we are on to the stage for setting up for printing. Some of you received 2 pieces of acrylic sheeting from me, and I wrote on them. So they were basically, again, to tell you that one of them you can use for squishing your ink out onto, and another one you can use for rolling your ink out on. Just wanted to give you enough surface area to squish and to roll. Kind of going over this again, what you need to have. So you've got acrylic sheet for your squishing and rolling your ink. You've got rags, like 2 to 3 rags, easily available. You've got a brayer. And I've got 2 because they're going to tell you a story in a little bit. You've got your ink bomb, you've got a knife, you got your veggie oil, you got your plate. You've got the fabulous plastic wrap, and you've got a container, a bag, a plastic bag for putting your waste rags into, and your waste ink that we're going to start to collect at the end of the printing session. All right, so good, we'll get started. So what I found, and I want you always to do this, as you know, is to get to know your brayer, right? So I thought, oh cool, I'm going to use this one. And then I tried to roll it, and it really does not want to roll because it's expanded, and it's actually shoving up against the carriage that holds the little roller in place. So I'm not going to be able to use this brayer because it's really not capable of rolling. So instead, I found a smaller brayer, which is going to be kind of exciting because I need to use it to roll across some pretty large passages of the plate, but we'll figure out how that works in terms of the quality of the inking when we get there, all right? So always test out your things, make sure that the brayers work, make sure that, you know, you've got all the items that you need. So I've got these 2 plates, and what I'm going to do now is take the ink out of my ink bomb. And to do that, you're going to get some sort of sharp-edged knife, and you're going to cut off one end of the ink bomb. That's my lovely name. I had that name for these for 30 years before things got so balmy in the world. All right, I wiped the ink off of my Olfa because I love it. And now I've got the ink bomb, and I'm not going to squeeze all of it out because it just gets really gooey pretty quickly. So I'm just squeezing at the end till maybe half a teaspoon comes out. And then I'm just going to kind of roll it back on itself like stringy cheese. And I'm going to set it over to the side. Then I'm going to get my palette knife. And you guys remember this. I'm holding my plate down and I'm squishing it. I didn't give you any plate oil because it was really hard to find containers that wouldn't leak in transit. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, after you squeeze the ink out, is do some meditative ink squishing. I already feel better just doing this. Okay, so I've squished it. It's very amiable. Now I'm going to scoot this over. That's why it's nice to have a bigger area. I'm going to grab my plate, and I'm kind of dusting it with the clean rag to get any debris from my carving off the plate. And now I'm going to gather, I don't know, how much is that? Like 1/4 inch width of ink. Got my cute little brayer. I'm going to put my finger, my pointy finger, in the back side of the blade, and I'm going to push down and pull across that quantity of ink. So it's a bit wider than my brayer. I'm going to set that guy down to my side, and now I'm going to roll. And it's just like the big rollers that you guys used in the studio. You're going to roll, come back to yourself, lift it, roll away, come back, lift, roll away, come back, lift. And you just do that over and over and over. Oh, that smells great. You guys should smell it. Soon you will. All right. So for those of you who were learning printmaking with me, you know what a Nazi I am about over inking. So you want to have a nice tight texture to what you're rolling out in terms of the little high peaks on the top surface of the ink. Isn't it glistening? Anyway, that's how you want it to look. And it's basically even from side to side. One side doesn't have apparently more kind of sloppy high peaks, and the other side is kind of matte. You can always move this little puppy around so that you can help even out your ink. All right, so I'm ready to roll. So I've got my plate over here, and like I said, my brayer is definitely smaller than my plate. So I'm not pushing really hard. I'm kind of sneaking up because I've carved away shapes along the edge of the plate. So I'm kind of using my little brayer to cruise out from the center over to the edge, rather than thinking I have to go straight back and forth. So I recharge it, ensure that it's just as even, turn my plate, do that same thing, turn it again. Now this is pretty tricky because my little brayer is very small and it's easy for it to drop into my negative spaces. So I'm not going to panic about it. I'll just kind of see what happens. So I'm not, again, by me not pushing really hard, I'm helping the brayer to glide across the top points and prevent it from dropping into the low ones. Into the low area, sorry. So I'm recharging it again. So hand printing is obviously going to be a different experience, and that's wonderful. So you guys used presses before. Now you get to try this out. They might look different. That's okay. That's all good. And that's why artists choose. I'm going to recharge one last time. They choose printing with a press versus printing with hand pressure and hand tools because they want to have a different visual characteristic to their... Okay, so I set my brayer down. Made a slight mistake there. So I don't know if you can kind of see the glisten on the ink, and I can see it dropped into the low parts. That's okay. But I can see that same sort of patterning, texture that looks very similar to what I rolled out is onto the plate itself. So that's how we ink the plate, and next we're going to do the printing.